Yeah, it only took me 15 years.
15 years? Really?
Yeah, really. I've been telling people it's 13 years, but I figured it out, and I've actually been working on it on and off for 15. I'm feeling good. First time I met Nikos, he contacted me because he was doing the Screamin' Jay Hawkins documentary. And in the documentary, Jay had talked about me and the Fuzztones because I had basically rediscovered him when he was at a bad point in his career, and I helped him get a record deal. So we became very good friends. And so because of that, Nicholas wanted me to be in the documentary, and that's how I met him. And then it went on that he was the booker for Gagarin, and of course booked the Fuzztones many times. And it turned out he was a fan of the band as well, so we developed a friendship over the course of the years, and it's very sad to hear that he passed, because, I mean, man, the guy was probably 10 years younger than me. Very unexpected. There were no rules. The best thing about the Fuzztones is there are no rules, and if there are, we break them. We don't follow rules. We do what we want to. I think that's one of the reasons why the band has stayed together for so long, because basically we have our own code of ethics that we live by. We don't really go by anybody else's rules. We go by our own. I remember it very well. I had never heard Leonard Cohen, believe it or not, but one of my favorite 60s bands, the Pearls Before Swine, covered two of his songs, Berta on a Wire and Suzanne Takes You Down to the River, or The Boat on the River, or whatever. I really liked those songs very much. And when we were booked to play the Pukkelpop Festival in France in '85, it was an outdoor festival, and everybody had their own trailer backstage. And Leonard Cohen's trailer was next to ours. I hadn't slept for 3 days before this, and I was a little bit crazy. And we got a nice big bottle of whiskey backstage, and I had heard that Leonard was a drinker. So I just went over to his trailer and knocked on the door, and I said, "Hey, Leonard, I've never heard you, but two of your songs are like two of my favorite songs." And I told him about the Pearls Before Swine. And I said, "I hear you're a drinking man. You want to help me polish off this bottle of whiskey." So he invited me in, and we drank the whole thing. And we had a nice long chat. I don't remember what we talked about because, as I said, we were drinking, and I hadn't slept for 3 days. But we both got very drunk, and then he went on and did his set, and then we did ours. And I still hadn't heard Leonard for years. Only maybe 2 years ago have I ever actually heard Leonard Cohen. And I looked up on YouTube, and there's footage of him opening for us, and he appears to be very sober. And then there's footage of us, and I appear very sober too. So all I can say is that's a sign of two professionals, because we were drunk off of our asses. And he was a very, very cool guy, very friendly, very down to earth. Well, you know, to be really honest, the only time that I really feel comfortable is on stage. You know, if I go to a club or something and people talk to me, I'm never really comfortable. But if I'm on stage in front of a bunch of people, it doesn't matter if it's 5 or 20,000. I feel like I'm with family or something. I feel so much more comfortable on a stage than I ever do off the stage. I love it. And not only that, I can tell you something else. Something happens, the power of music, or maybe just the power of the Fuzztones music, but it takes me over, and I never know what I'm going to say on stage. Half the time I don't even know what I'm going to play. I mean, you know, we know the song, but if I go into a solo, I don't know what's going to come out. It's more like I'm possessed, you know. Some spirit of rock and roll just forces me to do what I do, and I just allow it to. Well, I moved to New York in 1977 with my band Teen Appeal, and I had already been going to CBGB's for a year. I lived in Pennsylvania, and we would drive to New York on the weekends and go to CBGB's. So I saw a lot of the big punk bands of the day, and I was really, really into all that stuff. But to be honest, by the time we played CBGB's in '77, all those bands they moved on. They weren't playing there anymore. And I mean, CBGB's was still a cool place for a year or two, but it wasn't the same. It lived off of its reputation for many, many years. But by '77, Television, Patti Smith, Blondie, Ramones, they weren't playing there anymore. Probably the whole reason why I actually moved to New York is because I auditioned with the Dead Boys in 1976. And I ended up playing a show that night at CBGB's with them. And it was on the same bill as Blondie, Patti Smith, David Johansen, and Richard Hell. It was a very big deal. And all these people were like my idols. The Dead Boys told me I was their new bass player. So I went back to Pennsylvania, and I packed up all my shit, and I waited, and 2 weeks later they called me up and said they changed their mind. So by then I thought, well, I'll move to New York on my own. And I formed Teen Appeal, and it took a year to save up enough money to move to New York, and then I took the whole band and we moved to New York. And I guess within 2 or 3 years, we became one of the biggest unsigned bands in New York, headlining the biggest clubs. And ironically, when Teen Appeal was at its most popular, we were making as much money as it took the Fuzztones 6 years to make. When I quit playing with Teen Appeal and formed the Fuzztones, we went down to $5 a night to split between 5 band members and 2 roadies. And we did that for 2 years, playing for free, really. Until we, in 1983 is when we really started to catch on after 2 years of playing for free. And then there became a garage scene in New York, but it took a long time. A lot of perseverance. It's either balls or a masochistic tendency, or just stubbornness. I'm a very stubborn person. If I want to do something, no one can stop me from doing it. We never toured as a headliner. We did a very short tour in 1984 before anyone had ever heard of us. Now you got to realize we've been together 36 years, and the only time we ever toured our own country was 2 weeks in 1984, opening for the Lords of the New Church. And it was pretty crazy because we were making pretty good money. We went through a booking agency that Deb had worked with. She worked for them, the Copelands. They had IRS records, and they managed the police. And they put us on this tour, and they paid us really well. And then in 1989, which was 5 years later, we got signed to RCA, the biggest label in the world. And Ian Copeland called me up on the phone, and he offered me a tour of America, playing the college circuit. And I said, how much will we make? And he said, $200 a night. And I laughed. I said, I haven't played for $200 in 10 years. And he said, take it or leave it. So I left it, and we never played America again. I guess we were blackballed. And what's really crazy is he was the one who booked us in 1984, and we made like $500 to $1,000 a night. But once we were on a major label, it was very obvious where the money was going to go to. You know, but that's something that you see in this business a lot. You know, there's so many sharks and piranhas in the music business. The grass is always greener on the other side, you know. You see the Beatles had to go to America to become huge. I mean, they were big in England, but they had to become huge by going to America. And what did they do in America? Besides their own music, they were playing Motown. If you listen to their second album, it's filled with covers of Motown stuff. And which was American. If you look at the Rolling Stones, they came to America playing blues, which was American. And it's the only way that the white people at that time could get into that black music was through these white English artists, you know? It's pretty ironic when you think about it. Everybody loves love.
Right.
Yeah, well, Arthur, I was a huge fan, like everybody. And when I met Arthur, I had a videotape. Oh, well, yeah, here's how I met him. We played at a club in Hollywood, and he showed up. And the guy who booked the club was a part-time drummer for Love at some point. And he came to see him and saw us, and he asked the club owner if he could get up and play with us.
Amazing.
So the club owner asked us, and we just happened to know a Love song, which was 7 and 7 is. And so we brought him up and we played it. You can see it on YouTube. It's, in my opinion, it's the best version of 7 and 7 that Arthur ever did. We were an extremely powerful band at that time. That was the lineup that did Braindrops, and it's super ass-kicking. And about a week later, he called me up and asked me to form a band for him. But the Fuzztones were going so strong at the time. We had so much going on, I didn't have the time to form a band for him. I would have loved to have formed some backing band for Arthur Lee. It would have been amazing, but we never got to do that. But we did have him come and guest on the Braindrops album. He did a very short little part on guest appearance on one song, only because we really didn't have anything for him to do. We had already pretty much finished the album, but because I had a chance to bring him on, I gave him a little part on one of the songs. And it's funny, because it was the same song that Sean Bonnewell from the Music Machine guested on as well. And from what I heard from Sean Bonnewell, they had a bit of a bad blood between them, because Arthur had maintained that Sean had stolen his vocal style for Talk Talk. At the time, I didn't realize it, but it made sense, because if you listen to how Arthur sings on 7 and 7 is, My Flash on You, and My Little Red Book, it's the exact same style that Sean used, only Sean never used it for only Talk Talk. Meanwhile, Love had those 3 songs. But the big giveaway is at the end of My Little Red Book, the lyrics actually say, all I do is talk about you. This is very, very difficult territory to go into, because he's such a controversial figure. I really don't want to get too political, even though I have extremely strong political views.
I know.
But what I would like to say to anyone out there is Hillary was a known felon.
I was against Hillary Clinton, to be honest. To you.
I mean, she's a criminal, with a criminal record. And if you really research the Clintons, you'll find that they've been criminals for a long, long time, using their elite status to become millionaires. And honestly, I could never vote for a known criminal, you know. So that's really all I'm going to say about that. Well, my grandfather was from Athens, He was 100% Greek. My dad was half Greek, but he couldn't speak Greek. He probably only met his father 3 times in his whole life. And, of course, that means I'm a quarter Greek. And I have a strong affinity towards Greece, as you know.
Yeah.
But I can't speak Greek, but I love Greek food. But I don't know. That's probably all I can really say about it.
All right. What is rock and roll, Rudi, after so many years?
What is rock and roll?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? In my opinion, it's the music of people who don't fit in. Outcasts, misfits, rebels, people who just don't want to live by the boring rules of society. They want to make up their own minds. They want fun. They want excitement. They want kicks. It's the bastard son of blues and country music, actually. My own theory is it's a combination of blues, country music, and Elvis Presley's mother's diet pills. She used to have a prescription of diet pills, and Elvis used to bring them into the Sun Studios, and they had a bowl that they had on a table in Sun Studios. And it was filled with Elvis's mom's diet pills, and all the guys who went into Sun Studio used to pop these pep pills. And that's why all those rockabilly records are so fast and crazy and wild. And so you play country music that fast and that wild, and then you add the blues to it, and you have rock and roll. Well, we are just starting to write songs. We have a couple right now.
All right.
But we've been through a lot of changes in the last year. I became a dad.
I know.
And for the last year, me and Lana have been really wrapped up in bringing up our daughter. And that has kind of slowed down the progression of the band a bit. We haven't played out as much. Lana's taking a sabbatical, and we have a stand-in keyboard player for now, so we can continue to play. And because of that, we haven't really been working too much on originals, but I have 3 or 4 in the bag already. We do definitely have plans to record a new album, but we're not rushing it. We never do rush it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see our albums come out very sporadically, but they're always the very best that we can do. So when we're ready and when we think we have some really good stuff, then we'll put out another record. And my guess is it probably will be somewhere in 2017.
I need to have you here with me on air, on studio.
I'd love to be there.
All right.
We miss Greece.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. And thank you guys out there. We love you.